Gosh dang, bro, it's bright as freaking here. Can't see anything. Yo, bro, what are you doing in here? I'm just sitting here, contemplating my life of why I can't see anything because of the dang bright light. I see. So yeah, StarFox basically looks like a fishbowl, but it's not even dyed glass. It's just pure, just clear, which doesn't look all that good. And yeah, once again we hit up Walmart, got this. And if you have anything to say about this, shush. So yeah, StarFox is gonna get tinted, and that's about it. Don't mind that the fact that the rear mirror is gone again. I accidentally smacked it by a plate, fell down, smacked it, and once again it is falling off. I don't know what to do at this point. I'm probably just gonna get a suction cup one, or probably just drill one into that at this point, because that's like the second time I've had to put that up there. So yeah, let's get to cleaning these windows and tinting. So this tint I've probably had for about a year or something. I've had it for way too long, and the reason is because I was originally gonna do it for the 4Runner, you know, Mr. Night Runner over there, and school ended, job, and then I realized that this probably wasn't the best tint. Obviously it's Walmart tint, and it's a little foggy, unfortunately, but with the Mustang, it's a complete like fishbowl. I mean, you can completely see all the way through. I mean, you've seen Julius back there. You can see all the way through, like just to the garage door there, and it's kind of just like, I don't like that. Like the 4Runner, the rear windows are dyed, but this has basically nothing. So let's get to it. Now what I've got here is the Blackmagic Nano Ceramic 20%. Hopefully with it being ceramic, it shouldn't purple. I definitely don't want purple tint on this. Wiper blades. And also, yes, the motor's disconnected, and that's because if I ever end up caught in a rainstorm and I need to get somewhere, I can just tie some string to the blades and hopefully have some sort of wipers, because you know the motor doesn't work. That's really on there. It's so old that the glue's just turned brown, bruh. So I was an idiot. I made the mistake of not checking the camera properly, and I put it on a time lapse. So there's a bunch of footage that has no audio and is all in time lapse. But here I am, films rolled out onto that window, and just doing like a rough cut at first, and then just making sure it's not too much material around the window. And then once I've done that, I would then make sure it's tacked onto the window and do a more closer cut to the shape of the window. I almost forgot to mention the fact that I did make sure the film overlaps the seal down there, like it's probably about ½ an inch. I didn't do an exact measurement, just like, this should be a good amount. But yeah, just to make sure there's no light poking through when the window's open and all that. Now here in the spot in the front, obviously isn't very flat. It curves up, so I gotta trim the film so it's, you know, there isn't too much film inside. But once that's trimmed, I then pull it back off the window and make sure the corners are all rounded. And then once we're done with that, we can finally take the liner off, which if you couldn't tell already, was a bit of a struggle. I finally figured out a way from another guy I was watching, just basically putting
the end of the film in your mouth between your teeth, kind of like grind your teeth, and then it kind of separates the film and the backing sheet. So yeah, if you couldn't tell already here, you know, it's an older vehicle, and I'd already pulled the door card off, which made this a ton easier because I didn't have to tuck the whole film in there. I just had to do it right on the corners, and yes, I made sure they're nice and clean, so there shouldn't be any delamination there. And here I did try to use a blade across that edge, which was way too early to do something like that. It still needed time to like kind of solidify on there. And it did a much better method later on once it was ready for that. So if you can tell here, at least on the driver's window, there's a little bit damage here because for a while, I don't know why, people were using it without the seal there, and it kept hitting the bolts and that seal rail thing. But there's a little bit of damage, and I'll be honest, it didn't cause as much issues as I thought it would. It was actually a lot easier than I thought it would be. So by the way there, that was because the film kept lifting back off the window, so I just stuck it in the gasket and left it there for a while, and so it would stick. So probably not a good move, but it worked. So here we are moving to the back small windows, and these ones, they're kind of simple, kind of not. There's that front edge that I need to make sure to be pretty precise with, which it did work out pretty well, surprisingly, since I'm the first time doing this. But it turned out pretty well, so yeah. Now this rear passenger side had a little bit of weird like rust or something, and I just hit that with some steel wool and the razor blade, and most of it came out. There's still a little bit left over, but most of the time me or anybody else isn't going to really see it, so I wasn't overly worried about it, but I was able to get most of it off.
Ooh, oh gosh, I almost dropped that. Ooh, okay, better. Yeah. Alright, now it's onto the windshield. Now you guys want to see something crazy is, okay, when we turn that on, we look, and there's, as should be, there's kind of like a black border along here. But then we come around to the other side, and we look on here, and that border's gone. I've never seen that before. It like seems to like stick further in, almost on this side. It's like, what? My best guess is either this windshield is sitting in there crooked, or whoever painted this line was very crooked. Yeah, which I don't think someone painted, because I think this was from factory like that, so I don't know.
I was actually kind of sad to remove this sticker, but it needed to be done to get this tint on, which never actually got on.
Down the middle. Yoink that bad boy off of there. I have to redo all of that. So yeah, that's messed up, but I kind of went a little bit on a little tangent, and I had a little left of this yellow stuff, and I put it on this headlight, and I'll be honest, kind of like that yellow look, I will say. This piece is only going to be temporary. I mean, it's very halfly done, but while we're waiting on the more tints to arrive, I got something else on the 4Runner I gotta do. Ow. Don't touch it. I kind of want to try and save this one. And I slap it on there. The wheel, which hopefully will work.
Now I also forgot to mention that this eraser wheel does act like an eraser and causes a giant mess, which is why I've got to blow the whole thing off here.
So I almost forgot to explain what this is. This is called an eraser wheel. The idea is as simple as what I showed. It gets rid of like residue and all that. Now, not the best. This one was a cheaper one, but it did mostly what I needed it to. So now this is one of those things that you do have to be careful of, because you can't burn the paint. As you can already tell there, and I also hit the molding here, but yeah, it's a little burnt. I think I should be able to buff it out, but so that's where it is. And I don't know if the camera didn't pick it up, but there's a faint shadow, but it'll still look good 5 feet away. Except for this one, I think the issue is the 4Runner is always parked here, and this side's the side that's always facing the sun, and I think it just cooked it in. But yeah, that's gonna be there. And then this one's okay. I accidentally burned there, but yeah. Next clip's gonna be back to the tinting.
So I will say this back window was a lot simpler than I thought it was going to be. I thought I'd have to shrink the film. Luckily I didn't. I just laid it on and it was just like, oh, I don't have to shrink it. The hardest part really was cutting it, because there's basically no wiggle room at all, because there's no just border that the film can sit on. It's literally just straight from the fabric straight to the window. So, but I made use of a button, and then essentially I put that under the film, put the blade on top of that, and then that way I didn't end up cutting through the top and ruining all this work that I did a few months ago. So I also went over because my brother was outside there for a minute, so I went and bothered him for a second. So part of the reason of tinting these windows is partly to protect the interior, but also just kind of a comfort factor to hopefully keep heat out of there since it doesn't have AC. but I know that's Bible verse Jonah 4:6. And the Lord God appointed a vine, and it grew up and gave shade over Jonah, so that his heart may be eased from his discomfort. So Jonah was very glad of the vine. Now here I am squeegeeing the film on, and I will say it was definitely interesting because, you know, it's not like glass. So it kept moving weirdly, like I squeegee that part, but if I squeegee too hard, it would wrinkle around where I squeegeed. But it was actually fairly simple. I just made sure not to squeegee too hard and it stayed where it needed to. So yeah, I was finally fed up. That was the second time I had to do the windshield. So I gave up on doing that. So unfortunately that's not done, but at least the rest of the windows are done.
Okay, we are now done tinting. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the windshield, but it does give you a look at what the difference is between the two. It looks so much better. I can't see everything inside, especially this back window. I don't know. I'm surprised at how well this worked out, but I am worried about longevity. I don't know how long it's going to stay there without wrinkling or all that, because this does kind of fold when it goes down. But it is nice because it's not so easy to see everything in there, all the mess and all that. This definitely looks better. But yeah, I think we are going to bring it to an end there. I know I did say we're going to end it here, and I will see you all in the next video. And things are probably going to look very different in this garage. So yeah,